I like that.
Yeah. I hate it.
Fuck.
Oh man, this movie. Okay, are we? Is this a Stockholm syndrome thing? Is this movie finally where we've broken? Is that the problem? Are we broken individuals at this point? We're 10 episodes into this. Is this something where we have broken as individuals?
If we were broken, we
Who
would
is
also
Oliver
like
Daly?
Stop it! God damn it. That's a good question. Welcome to part 2 of Oliver Daly.
Oliver Daly watch.
No,
we did get his contact for his agent.
If we were broken, we would also like the dog parts of this movie, and that's not true.
That is very, yeah.
So that must mean we're sane individuals who just also like spooky buddies.
Who just also like spooky buddies. I mean, we like the spookums and not the buddies. We like the
the buddies suck.
The
the movie's great. They just cut out the buddies.
I'm so mad because the dogs are cute as hell. Like, pick the cutest dogs for this movie.
Yeah.
These dogs are all incredible. Like, they're super cute. And then what they do with them is they put them on flat shots against green screen where they, like, CGI their mouths weird and it looks awful. And it's just, like, super tight shots every single time. And it's just flat and awful every time they're on screen. And they're... Ugh, it sucks. It sucks so bad.
Yeah, this is a problem with every one of these talking dog movies. Outside of Sherlock Bones, which I actually like the talking dog parts a little bit because there was peanut butter and it was cute.
Yeah.
But like, when you digitally edit the dog is still just like staring forward, probably at some food. And there's no acting on the face, so they try to cheat it by like digitally moving the eyebrows slightly upward, which doesn't even look like anything. And then that's supposed to convey emotion and acting. And instead you get these child actors speaking lines with no weight to them at all, while this dog stands still among a blurry green screen, just like doing nothing. It's awful.
Yeah, and the way that they do, like, even action scenes, as long as they're talking, because they have to show the dogs talking, they do it as a flat, static shot that is just super tight in on the dog face.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you get. So you only get that as your thing, and it's just brutal, because you get these tight shots with no movement besides the CGI stuff. Like, I would not be surprised in the slightest to learn that they are actually just still images. That
they could be, for sure.
Yeah, like that they've edited on top of that a little bit of, like, mouth motion and the eyebrows and stuff. Which, but like you were saying, to go further into your point of them editing in, like, eyebrows and things, so that there's some kind of reaction from the dog. The problem is, too, that dogs don't do that. Like, dogs don't raise eyebrows. Dogs don't squint eyes, like, if they're looking angry or something. Like, they don't... It's a very human facial expression that they put into these dogs, and it makes it really weird and uncanny, right? Because that's not what dogs look like or do, but it is a real dog face looking at you, and it just ends up being disconcerting, and... I honestly, all of that wouldn't matter as much if there was actually just... Even if it looked awful, even if it looked absolutely terrible, it would be a lot better if there were just simply action to it. Like, the fact that it's these static shots that don't do any... Like, there's no motion in them is what's really bad. Because more than anything, it doesn't... It cuts into the flow of the movie. Like, you're in the middle of, like, a chase scene or something, right? Like, where the evil dog jumps in, like, because there's a bad dog that is the Halloween hound summoned from the pits of hell.
It is the Halloween hound! Like that. Except that's kind of how they introduced the dog, but then he's just like some like gravelly rapper or something. I don't know.
No, it was Diedrich Bader. Oh,
okay.
No. It's not a rapper. No.
Is that who it was? All right.
Yeah, it was Diedrich Bader. Yeah.
You know,
he's got a real gravelly voice, though. He does have a very gruff voice. But the problem is that they're running from him. And he, like, jumps into a scene, like, near the end, as a good example of just how much it just undercuts the action, is that he's, like, chasing them, trying to find them, and he finds them, and he jumps into the middle of their scene. And instead of actually having, like, a chase or something, because it's all just green screen them being in this room, instead you just continue the flat shots that are just tight shots on a dog's face that's animated, and it starts bouncing between all of them as they talk at each other. And so instead of having, like, some kind of dynamic chase scene with the puppies running through the house or anything like that, instead of running away, you just get, like, a flat shot of one of the AirBuddies' faces, and then they go, oh, no, he's here. Like, it's that. But they don't run, they don't look scared, the child actors don't convey it well, and so it's just this, it's literally that. It's a flat shot of a face that just goes, oh, no, we need to run. And then there's nothing. And it's like, that sucks. You could have done it where, even if it looked ugly, just, like, fully CGI them even at that point, and have him, like, run them through the house as they're, like, knocking things over to try and stop him or something, because it just so sharply stops all of the action, right? Like, it's like a brick wall that you run into, because that's how they do every shot with the dogs talking in this film. And it really sucks.
I just realized how these shots were done, and they're exactly the same as Star Wars Episode 2, and I fucking hate it. It's just cross-shot talking, but with still dogs. If you replace these dogs with all the characters in Star Wars Episode 2, you get the same fucking movie.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
It's that shot. So anyway, the dogs suck. Outside of the actual dog scenes. Yes. So the actual dog scenes where the actual dogs are moving and it's not CGI and it's not still shot against the green screen, those are great. Dogs are cute. However, this is a Halloween movie, and we need to talk about the Halloween part, because welcome to Spooktober month in Rough Cuts.
So before we move on, though, can I just say one thing that we mentioned while we were in the movie as well? Mm-hmm. Why did the cute dogs have to be the worst part of this film? How did they do that? How did they do it? How did they do that? How did they like, hey, we've got a bunch of cute dogs. What are we going to do to fucking ruin it? Like, and the rest of the movie's fine. Why did they do it? Why did they make me hate the cute dogs? Why did they make me hate the cute dogs?
This feels a lot like an 80s Halloween movie. When it came out in like 84, and it would have had all the spookums that you would expect, and then there's just these like shitty CGI dog scenes where like, alright, can we move on? Can we get to the next scene? That'd be great.
Yeah, if you did a supercut removing all of the dogs from this movie, like just removing pretty much that whole storyline and just reshot it a little bit, it would work as a really good Hocus Pocus ripoff.
Or Ernest Scared Stupid. It's like
or Ernest Scared Stupid.
A mashup of those
it specifically hits a lot of the same like notes as Hocus Pocus. Like the plot line feels the same. Like I'm saying,
the plot's the same. Some of the darker elements of the movie are very similar in Ernest Scared Stupid. Yes. So that's something I think we both want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is like, so it's really solid. Outside of the dogs, the plot is there is a warlock from 1937 who's summoning up. We start in media res again with 1937 Halloween, where he's summoning the Halloween hound out of this magic mirror thing that he has in his big mansion, and somehow the townsfolk all know that he's doing this, I guess, because he kidnapped the dogs. He kidnapped 5 dogs. Look, he needs to sacrifice.
Sometimes you just have to sacrifice 5 young puppies' souls by murdering them into stone, which is very JoJo. and then after stealing their souls, you summon the Halloween Hound, which does something. Like, this is common knowledge. Everybody knows this lore. Everybody in this town knows the lore. obviously they're like, fucking Jeff Warlock over there took the pups again. Better go up to
God
his
damn it,
house.
Jeff Warlock is always stealing all of the dogs in town. He needs
This guy
5
looks like a
dogs
Jeff.
from the... Yeah, this is definitely Jeff Warlock. Jeff Warlock, the art teacher from the school.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Jeff Warlock's at it again.
Jeff Warlock. He just gets up to the worst shit. So Jeff Warlock is there, and he's sacrificing 5 puppies. He needs them specifically to be from the same litter, kind of thing. Like, they need to be from the same bloodline. And it needs it to do it so that, like, the Halloween Hound has a permanent body, kind of thing.
Or
whatever, dark ritual.
Sure.
That stuff doesn't necessarily matter as long as it's consistent in world once they establish it, right?
Yes. This movie does a good job of establishing Halloween mythos. When it comes to a children's Halloween movie, it needs to be spooky, it needs to be a little dark, and there needs to be a myth. If there's not a myth, then there's no, like, mysterious element to the film. This movie does a really good job of actually fulfilling those key points to make something interesting, which they really did not need to do for fucking Spooky Buddies.
They didn't need to do it for this movie. That's the surprising thing. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I just kind of want to jump around some of the plot points really quick.
The plot, yes.
So, like, Jeff Warlock goes to sacrifice them. He gets interrupted as he's sacrificing the 5th one, which is, honestly, this scene is... There's a lot of, like, goofy kid shit that's kind of stupid, but, like, it's stupid in a kid's movie way, and so it's not entirely intended to be funny, but I also still find it kind of funny, and it's not... I wouldn't consider it, like, a sin of the movie. It's just, like, a kid's movie kind of thing. But it's kind of great that 4 of the dogs are dead as they're coming in to get it. Like, let's be clear. They're dead. They're turned to stone. And then they're like, all right, let's swallow the soul of this last dog. And the last dog goes, I've changed my mind.
I don't want to die. Well, the 4 puppies before that one were like, yes, kill me next, kill me next.
Yeah, they were all like, I want to see the Halloween Hound. Because he's like, do you want to see the Halloween Hound puppies? Like, he's trying to, like, get them to see the Hound. And then, like, the Hound steals their souls. And then, like, as the last one is going to get eaten, and he's watched all the other ones die in front of him, and he goes,
he's like, no, I'm good.
Actually, I'm good. I've not decided to do a lot of it. And it's like, it took 4? It took you 4 in to get there? This took you way too long, my friend. Jesus. But this cute little beagle gets its soul ripped from its body, which is, like you said, like, it's actually kind of dark. Like, they kill these dogs. And then it gets its soul ripped from its body, and they interrupt it right then. And as its soul is traveling into the mirror, they stop the Warlock, and that means that the soul doesn't go through, and then the Warlock gets trapped behind the mirror as well with the Hound.
Okay, can we talk about how he surfs on a staff yet? Because that happened during this scene, too.
Oh, God, it did happen during this part. That's when they first introduced it, isn't it? Go ahead. I'll let you have the rad guy, Jeff Warlock.
The fucking town militia / whatever mob comes over to Jeff Warlock's fucking mansion of spookiness. and they kick down his front door. He's waiting at the top of his little staircase that goes into the foyer. And he's like, aha, you'll never get me, you fuckers. And he jumps on his fucking staff that he was just holding. This huge fucking staff with like a gem on it. Places it down, and then slowly surfs down each step one at a time, hovering above them on this thing. He's like, ha! What are you doing in my house? I'll turn you into frogs. Leave me alone. And then he slowly turns around and goes back up on his staff, surfing one step at a time.
Very slowly skates back upwards. Yeah. Oh, yeah! Baby.
Oh, shit!
Hold up! Yeah, no, it's not Rad Wizard!
This movie's fucking awesome.
This movie's great. Oh, man, I need him to do all grind down that rail. Ah, shit. So good. How is this more efficient than walking? He's not riding it, to be very, very clear. This is not a broomstick that he's riding like a witch, where he's straddling it. He jumps on this thing like sideways, like a skateboard, turns his Jeff Warlock hat sideways, and goes, "Yo, what's up, townsfolk? Here's Jeff Warlock in your house." And he just skates down the stairs. Tricks. It's so good. It's so good.
He does like a kickflip and an ollie. Yeah.
Oh god,
oh
the little child whose dog this is, which is actually important later. Yep. They bring all of this back. The little child whose dogs these are and who goes to rescue them starts chasing after him. He turns a couple of the townsfolk into frogs, and then he goes to chase after him to stop this ritual. And the child, this small child, like an 8-year-old child, running up the stairs, I'm probably even younger than that, probably like 6 or 7, trying to run up the stairs after him on his wand is faster than him. To give you an idea as to how inept this Jeff Warlock character is and how bad of an idea it is for him to ride this wand. It's so good. It's so good. Like
every scene with him on that fucking staff is the best.
It's so stupid. But like, to be clear, it's stupid in a way that the movie knows is stupid, and it's just kind of goofy fun. Like, I don't want to make it sound like we're insulting the movie at this point, because yeah, it's kind of dumb, but the effect is actually good. Like, the effect is not bad. There's some budget in this. Like, it's Disney, right?
They use their Disney money well on this film,
Yeah, they got some real voice actors and some real actual actors, like Ron Howard's dad. And the Warlock, by the way, the actual actor for this, Harland Williams is actually the actor. And man, he just hams it up. He's great. Mm-hmm. He has the most wide eyes this entire time you can imagine. He is having a blast with this movie.
He had so much fun with this movie, and it comes off on screen, like, really well.
It works so well. So every single scene with him in it is just kind of gold, because he's just riding around on his cool guy staff, like, just hamming it up as Jeff Warlock. He's the nerdiest, weirdest, stupidest Warlock. It's so good.
We were saying when we were watching this, dude, this guy totally played D&D before it even existed. This guy invented D&D, and then Gygax stole the idea. Because he's like, haha, welcome to Jeff Warlock's house. I'll be your GM. Woo.
Oh, God, he's so fucking nerdy. It's so good. Like, one of the townsfolk to, like, shove him over and, like, put him in a locker. Like, he's just exactly that character. But, like, they know it, and they kind of acknowledge it and just ham it up and just let him have fun with it. And same with the wand thing. Like, it's kind of silly and goofy, but it establishes that he's magic guy, and it's a decent effect. Like, it looks pretty good, and yeah, it's silly slow, but it's just like, it's almost like he's the theater kid, right? Like, the other thing that I thought of him as is he's the theater nerd. Like, he comes swooping in and he's like, this has to have drama. I am the Warlock. Like, he's the drama teacher at school, and it's just so good. Like, he's just so ridiculous the whole time. Of course he's not going to run down the stairs. He's the Warlock. He must float in on this fucking stick.
It's like exactly as stupid as it should be for a kid's film. It's great.
Yeah. Like, it's just a lot of weird, goofy kind of fun. And I was legitimately, like, kind of, if not laughing, at least smiling a little bit at I
legitimately laughed a lot in this movie, and that is not at this movie. That is because I was very much enjoying it.
Yeah, just because I was entertained. I shouldn't be entertained by Spooky Buddies. I hate it. This is so dumb. Why are we discussing Spooky Buddies seriously? Can we just end? I don't want to do this anymore.
We can't.
I, Cameron Aldis, of Sound, Body, and Mind, love Spooky Buddies. It's a good Halloween film.
As part of the Spookoween, we have to enjoy a spooky movie, especially apparently Spooky Buddies.
I did enjoy it.
I don't know why.
Because the thing is, the way that I felt about this movie, and it starts out with all that wacky stuff, and basically the whole plot of the film then is, because I don't want to go too much into all the details, it doesn't really matter. The plot is essentially very much like Hocus Pocus. The Warlock goes trying to summon the Halloween Hound again, because modern day, it jumps forward. The AirBuddies come into the house, and they awaken the Halloween Hound by saying its name in front of the mirror.
Sure.
By doing this kind of like summons the Warlock, and he breaks out on Halloween, and they have one night to finish the ritual and, let hell loose on Earth, because they're trying to he's trying to establish a portal between the ghost realm where the Halloween hound lives and real life. So, okay, sure, we've established our stakes, that's good. There's clear sets of rules, it has to be done on Halloween night. And it sticks with that, right? It has sunrise at the end of the movie when they're stopping the ritual because they ran out of time, and then you get sucked back into the portal, all that kind of stuff. So then the rest of the movie is him going around trying to get back his staff and his magic spellbook and the 5 puppy souls, which he's now using from the AirBuddies. Hey, look, there's 5 of them. So that's basically the movie, and the kid's just foiling that plan. The kids and the buddies, there's a split movie here. And I kind of want to compare this really quickly. This is Air Bud 5 again, where there's 2 different movies. So there's a movie that is following but it's the inverse of Air Bud 5. Where Air Bud 5, there was a movie where it was with the dog and the bird, where they were doing a heist with the weird criminal guys. Where with the Blob and Wolverine.
Yep,
Wolverine and the Blob went and did a diamond heist, and they enlisted the use of the bird and Air Bud to do it. And that was the best part of that movie, because it was just goofy, weird shit, but it was 5 minutes of the film, and then the rest of it was stupid family drama that sucked, and it was lifeless and static, and this is the exact opposite of that movie. There is 10 minutes of AirBuddies, and then an hour of kids doing stuff, and the kids stuff is great. There's so many
good.
It's a great little Halloween movie. It feels very much like Hocus Pocus. If you know Hocus Pocus, it's the witches revive themselves on Halloween, and to make themselves eternal, they have to kill they have to do some kind of ritual, I forget. And they have to stop them on Halloween night before the sun comes up. And it's the same kind of thing, right? Ritual needs to be stopped from this horrible, wizardly kind of character or characters by the end of Halloween night. Same premise, and it's kind of got a lot of the same fish out of water type stuff. You could cut all of the dogs out of this movie, and it would basically just be a Hocus Pocus ripoff, although a good one. And it's so useless to have the buddies in it. It's just, it feels so tacked on so that they can have dogs in this movie.
I feel like this was written as a different movie, and then they shoved the buddies into it plot-wise.
I think so.
Because
it's
the
got
rest of it is
written into it.
Yeah, there's actual characterization. There's thought put into what they're setting up and what they're paying off. There's a lot of spooky lore, which is in universe correct. And then you throw in all the cinematography, all the set design, all the costume
set design and cinematography is
the music.
Really good.
The music was good. Why was the music good?
I don't know.
There's a lot of care put into this to create that spooky Halloween atmosphere that you expect out of the Hocus Pocus, the Ernest Scared Stupid, the Halloween Town, any of those children-oriented Halloween movies. But then you also get another scene where Jeff Warlock just eats a fucking candy bar with the wrapper on it.
Oh my god, it's so good! It's so good! So yeah, this is a scene where, and this is where it's the perfect kind of Hocus Pocus energy, where he's pulled forward in time, essentially, right? From 1937 into the modern day.
70 years later or so,
and, yeah, and he doesn't understand Halloween. There's a lot of actually stuff with that's really, really probably unintentionally hilarious, where he doesn't understand what fireworks are and stuff, and it's it's the 30s. It wasn't 1830s. This is 1937. The dude knew about cars and fireworks and things like that, and he's oh, they cast vile magics in the air that explode. It's just
it's the perfect opportunity to have a fish out of water on a Halloween night when kids are running around.
Oh yeah, no. I don't blame them for it.
The idea is great. The execution is great. You just kind of have to like shut your brain off a little bit as to the reason why.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a kid's film. It is a kid's film, right? Like this is the target audience we talked about is probably like 8-year-olds. It's not meant
somewhere
to be
around there, yeah.
Yeah, it's not meant to be like for 16-year-olds or something. Like this ain't complicated stuff. This is pretty straightforward. It's a kid's film. But yeah, no, it's great because he's just doing the fish out of water thing, running around to Halloween. And he's like, "Oh, there's demons and ghouls everywhere. Who's beaten me to summoning these demons? Somebody else has all these powers." And he's like
he's just
hunched
going
around,
so ham
like
with it.
He's just going so ham, and he's like all hunched over, and he's like wandering into decorations by accident, and like getting spooked by fireworks. And then he like knocks on a door, and he finds a guy that's dressed up. It's their teacher who's dressed up as Frankendude.
I love
Frankendude. This is a Frankenstein monster, but he's a surfer.
Hey, dude.
I don't get why that was a thing. There was a very eclectic costume. He was like a Frankenstein character in a Hawaiian shirt with a surfboard that was a gravestone, but with like a bite out of it from a shark with blood on it. Like it is the most wild costume of all time. But he goes and like knocks on the door, and he's talking to this guy and like doing his whole thing, and he goes, "Aren't you a little old to be trick or treating?" And somebody's like, "No, I'm Jeff Warlock."
I'm a Warlock.
And he's just hamming it up and doing his whole thing, and the guy's like, "All right, I guess I'll give you a candy bar then," and gives him the candy bar, and he just eats it with the wrapper. Like he's just staring this dude down, just in this most power move you can imagine. Just like locks eyes with him and just starts eating it with the wrapper on. And it's like this is the stupid part where again, like you have to shut your brain off. Like it's just a funny scene. Like I was legitimately howling with laughter over it because he hams it up so much. But like he's from 1937. They had candy bars. He knows what a candy bar is. This dude's just such a chud that he is eating with the wrapper anyway.
He's just doing it to fuck with the guy.
He's just such a bozo that he does it anyway. It's so good. Like Jeff Warlock is the creepiest, stupidest fucker around. I love him. He's just like he's such a bumbling idiot, but like in such a goofy and hammed up like weird way.
They had a scene later on where he's surfing on his staff to get from like point A to point B, and as he's landing, the camera is showing him going by this tree. He hits the tree. Yes! I'm like, oh, was that a mistake? Yes. And then he lands and then spits a bunch of fucking leaves out of his mouth. You're like, that was not a mistake. That was a setup. That was so good.
He just spits a ton of leaves out of his mouth. He's just like. Because he's just such a nerd that he can't even ride his own staff around. Like, he's just such a fucking bozo.
I fucking love it. I actually love it. It's so good.
Oh, God. Like, yeah, he's played so well as just this super nerdy LARPer dude that thinks that he's this big terror and that, like, you can't take seriously. But it's done in a way where it's still... he's a legitimate threat still, right? Like...
Yes.
It's weird because, like, they walk a good line of he's a goofy threat, but he's still a threat. Like, he still has those scenes where it's like he rips open... There's actually a really cool shot where he's trying to get them out of... Okay, there is one weird thing about this. Yeah, it's a church. I wanted to mention the church because, like, they were safe in the church because there's a whole plot line about, like, he's... Like, they kind of... It's not a Christian movie. Like, it's not a Christian film. It's not a Christian film.
Until it is.
Until it is. They do it in the most... They try and, like, not mention it a lot, though. Like, they're really trying... They don't mention Jesus, really, right?
It's definitely not preachy about it. It's just weird.
No, and it's not trying... It's like, I don't think that it's a Christian film. It just has the Christian iconography in it because they couldn't think of another way to make these kids safe, I guess. So it was just like... The power of Christ compels him. It was they run into the church and he like touches the door and he gets blown back by sparks, and it's like he can't come into the house of God is what they say, and like that's what I mean. They're very euphemistic about it. Like a Christian movie would have been like, oh, Jesus protects us. We need to pray. Like do you know what I mean? Like they do something like that, and it's not that. It's done in a very like. It's done in a very, like, almost Constantine kind of way or something, right? Like, where it's, like, the Christian stuff is done as myth, almost. Like, as part of the Halloween myth.
It's weird because there's a lot of myths in this movie that are kind of mashed together. Yeah. If you think about it, there's the Halloween Hound, which is actually Candyman. Because if you say his name 3 times in a mirror, he comes out and gets you. There's
it's a little bit of the Halloween Hound.
Which is Jeff Warlock. He can't enter a church, I guess, because reasons.
Yeah, it's kind of vampiric.
Yeah, they poke fun at Frankenstein with Frankendude, and they even do, like, the flash of light when he's on stage later on at the party, and he falls down and knocks on top of Jeff Warlock, thwarting his plan.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of spooky mythos that's sort of put into the story that really they didn't have to do, but I appreciate that it's there.
Yeah, no, they build up a whole little world around it. They've got this whole little thing. So, I mean, I think that it's just that, like, they kind of are very euphemistic that he's linking, like, the spirit realm with dark spirits into the real world. So, I mean, it's a hell portal. Like, but they don't say hell, right? But that's what they're doing. Like, and so
you can't say hell on this podcast. That's like can't.
So he's linking to heck. He's linking a portal down to heck.
Thank you.
And this gosh darn kids are stopping in by going into that good old church there and talking with our Lord and Savior. But no, but that is what it is. I think that's kind of the connection, is that it's very euphemistic that he's basically a Satanist summoning up like demons from hell. And I mean, that's very much also in the Halloween Hound thing, where it's a hellhound, right? Like,
basically, yes. It's like a Cerberus.
It's basically that. It's like, it's kind of, so it does it in a very euphemistic way. Like, it's kind of a twist on that, and it just goes a little bit to the side and tries to not say too much about God and Jesus. But, like, they also defeat him with a Bible, where he needs his spell book to finish the ritual. So they say, okay, well, we'll bring you your spell book. And they're doing that under guise to rescue the dogs. They come there, they give him the book, and he opens it up, and it turns out they switched the covers, and it's actually a Bible, and he starts reading, and he goes, "Our Father who are, and it, like, burns him.
I like how we read it out loud, too. Like,
I know.
You didn't notice immediately? What an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, that is perfectly in keeping with Jeff Warlock, though. Yeah. God, Jeff Warlock, you tool, you absolute buffoon.
Absolute. Even the fucking hellhound at some point gets sick of his shit.
Oh yeah, no. They very subtly at one point, the hellhound goes like, "Well, now that I have the 5 puppy souls, I don't need that stupid Warlock anymore." Like, he just straight up is like, "Oh God, that asshole! I don't need." God, what a chode. Like, everybody hates Jeff Warlock. Like, his actual name, by the way, is actually nerdier than we're making it out to be.
Really?
Yes, he's Warwick the Warlock.
I forgot!
He is Warwick the Warlock. That is literally his name. He's Warwick Warlock. So no, he's actually nerdier than we're making him out to be. So in case you were wondering if we were hamming it up, we're toning it down. We're making it easier for you to digest it. But yeah, no, like, the movie is really solid. I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone because there's just so much good. They have, like, the Hocus Pocus scene again. Like, a lot of it felt Hocus Pocus to me, where the adult he takes over Frankendude's mind and is using him as a minion, which actually turns him into Frankenstein, essentially, because his mind's overwritten, great. So then he is a zombie, and he's going around, which is a great gag, right? Like, now he's actually... Yeah. And so I have all the adults think that he's just cosplaying, basically, right? Like, he's really into this role, because he's acting like Frankenstein. And he goes through the party that they have in the town, like, with all the adults.
He's just downing drinks left and right.
Yeah, he's just slamming back all the drinks. And, like, they have this whole thing, like, he goes on stage and he wins the costume contest. Like, they've got a lot of good little gags in there of all the adults, like, having no idea what's going on and just being like, "Oh, this is such a good trick." Like, the Warlock comes on stage and he's like, "I'm gonna make all of you pay," and he's like turning people into frogs and monkeys.
Whoa,
and
that
they're
was
all
great.
Like, "Wow, great show, this is amazing." Like, they're all just total idiots. But it gives a good, like, cover for the kids to run around and do the kids stuff and not talk to the adults, because all the adults are just drunk and having fun at the party and don't really realize. And it's just a good little gag, right?
This is a good setup, because if you're going to have a kids' Halloween movie, the first question you ask is, why don't they just go to the cops, or why don't they just go to the adults? Well, the adults are idiots. They're all fucking drunk. The cops literally don't listen. And one of the dogs said, "What in tarnation?" and then turned into a statue. So
yeah, the cop dog. There was a dog that's a cop.
Dog. Cop dog. This movie also has ghost dog. There's a 1-to-1
for everybody. There's a 1-to-1 for everybody. So, like, pretty much every person in the film has or at least a lot of them have, like, a dog counterpart. So, like, there's the Warlock.
This has to be a JoJo movie.
It's all their stands. They all have a dog stand.
Every character has a dog stand. There's a stone mask that turns people into fucking... I guess it steals their soul and turns them into stone. There's technically a vampire with Warwick. Is Warwick Dio?
I am so angry that I was making the stupid JoJo joke in the middle of the movie because the kid from the beginning is actually an old spooky man that they go to for help, like who ends up helping them, kind of like Home Alone style. Yeah. Ends up being like Home Alone style, where it's like, oh, the spooky man that there's all the stories about actually ends up being the good guy. He's the kid from the beginning that stopped the first ritual, and he comes back and helps them. And then I'm like, oh man. And he's like, oh, my name's Joseph. And I'm like, oh man, is he a JoJo? And as I'm saying that, he goes, yeah, Joseph Johnston. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! JoJo! He's JoJo! He's actually JoJo! He's a JoJo! It's so ridiculous. It's JoJo's Bizarre Halloween Adventure. It is. Oh god! But like, Warwick would work really. Like Jeff Warlock would 100% be perfect in a JoJo film. Like he's absolutely a JoJo character. He would so be over the top. He's so ridiculous. Sure. But like, yeah, there's a lot of good little scenes like that, and like there's some actual terrifying scenes. I was trying to say that earlier actually, where I was talking about the church, and then I got sidetracked just talking about the church stuff. But, like, there's a really good scene just, like, how the effects work in this film and how they're actually well shot and good for spooky stuff. Like, because I kind of want to talk about the sets and everything. Yeah. And part of what is confusing to me about this movie. So, he's trying to go to the church and, like, he can't touch the church. So what he does is he, like, uses his magic and he's, like, riding his broom and he comes down and there's leaves blowing everywhere. Like there's this big swirl, like tornado of leaves and trash and stuff around him, and he rips the doors open and it shows it from inside of the church, right? Like they're all standing in the church, and then the doors rip open and like this gust of wind blows out and like blows his hair back, and it's just him framed in the doors of the church. That's a good shot. Like that's a really cool little Halloween shot for like a kid's film. There was a lot of stuff like that.
There's a ton of shots like that.
Yeah, and when they go back to his house later on, in the beginning, like when it's the time skip forward, there's like cobwebs everywhere, and like the set design of this haunted house is perfect. Like they come in and like the shot of the house is this old house. It's covered in vines. It's got like this scraggly dead tree out front, and there's this big fog going through it. It looks great. It looks really good. Like it doesn't look good for a budget film even. Like, it just looks good, period. And then we have a shot of a dog talking statically over a green screen. I mean, it drags the movie down so much.
There's also the shot of the Casper dog, which is all CG, which looks incredibly shitty, except for the time when they cut a, like, styrofoam little ghost dog head and then put it under a sheet.
Yeah, that was clever. Stick. So they did a thing
that actually looks good.
Yeah, well, and it was just a clever story point too, because this ghost is scaring all of the puppies whenever it tries to talk to them, and it's trying to talk to them like, no, you have to stop the ritual. It's the dog that got its soul ripped out but didn't actually get swallowed up by the hound.
So the soul's been left behind.
And so it's a ghost. Yeah. And it's been trying to explain to our heroes, both the humans and the dogs, what's going on. But it's a ghost, and they get scared of it and like run away, and they don't listen to it and stuff. So when on Halloween night, it goes into there's a kid that comes along that's a ghost, like dressed as a ghost, and it scares the kid, and then it steals his costume, and so it's this floating ghost costume for the ghost, so that it can talk to them and be like, yeah, it's a clever little thing where it can, pretend like it's a kid and be like, oh, did you not hear about how Warwick's up on the hill doing a dark ritual? You need to stop him. So. Like little things like that are kind of clever. And this is what I don't get, though. So, my thought behind this film when I was first going through it is I was like, okay, just like you did, this has to be somebody had a actual good idea and a decent script for a Halloween movie for kids. And then it got bought by the AirBud people. Like, it got optioned by them or whatever. And then they made it into an AirBud film, and that's why you kind of have, like, the dogs just kind of crowbarred into this. Because it feels like they're inserted. Like, they don't feel natural in the flow of this film in a lot of ways.
It was definitely inserted after.
It feels, it feels like it. But this is the thing. This is what I don't get about it. Is that, because it feels like when we saw AirBud 5, that movie is lazy. Like, that movie
Yes.
is lazy as hell. It is all montages of the same thing over and over and over. You can tell that there was extensive reshoots that they just didn't care about, where they had a beach, and it's just a beach. It's just a public beach. So it's not like, it wouldn't be that hard, I wouldn't think, especially when you're AirBud and you have, like, Disney behind you and everything, to actually just go down to that beach and get a license to shoot there, right, and finish your film. And they didn't go back to it when they did reshoots. They did a green screen, and it's super obvious. Like, there's a bunch of things like that where they just like, we'll just fix it all in post, and it's all green screened, and it's all terrible, and it's really, really lazy and hacked together because of
This
that.
movie has a heart,
And this movie
though,
isn't
and
like that. This movie is the exact
shouldn't.
opposite of that. This movie has like super detailed sets and really well shot cinematography and like actual like costumes for everybody, like good costumes, like really good costume design for some of it. And what I
If it
don't
has a
get
tap
is I'm
dancing
looking at
scene?
it. So I looked at it. I looked up like who it's written by and who's directing it. And the director is Robert Vince, and it's written by Anna McRoberts and Robert Vince. And the thing is that all of their stuff is just all of the AirBud movies. So what the hell happened? Why is this one suddenly good? Like, what happened that made this film different than AirBud 5, where they actually cared and they did it? Right?
See, my thought was they were trying to write a script for a Disney Channel made-for-TV movie. Here's my thought. They have an already existing film franchise called Halloween Town, which is essentially the same thing. So I'm thinking that they wrote that. They're like, let's get the hell out of this fucking AirBud franchise. Please to God. Accept my Halloween movie so I can get out of this. Oh, this would be great for AirBuddies. Fuck. They just made them do it. I think that's what happened.
Maybe.
Like, you don't write the script for a fucking Buddies movie. You write the script because you're trying to get out of being a Buddies movie director, you know? Or writer.
Yeah. This is a direct-to-DVD film. And
it was.
And honestly, like, as somebody who's had to watch a lot of kid films for a lot of different reasons, this is much better than most theatrical releases.
I would not have been upset if I was forced to see this in theaters.
No. I wouldn't have been super mad. This is that's stupid. Why do I like AirBuddy? Why do I like Spooky Buddies? Why is Spooky Buddies the film that we're like, it seems like it's
pretty good.
Care. Somebody really likes it. It's a good movie. I mean, like, they must have spent money on it. We can't find any information on what they spent for money, but like, music is by Danny Elfman.
Mm-hmm.
By Danny Elfman. I mean, there's also Bram Wagner in there as well, is what it says. Like, but by Danny Elfman and Bram Wagner, it's like got Harlan Williams and like there's a bunch of actors and things in it. Like, Rance Howard is the old man, so he's Joseph Joestar. He's Joseph Johnston.
Jojo.
He's Jojo. And we have like Skylar Gisondo is the kid, which people might not recognize, but he's in Santa Clarita Diet, which is one of my favorite TV shows. Has been for a little while. He's really, really good in that. And so he's one of the main characters in there. And they kind of got him as a child actor. Deborah Jo Rupp is one of the voices. Like, there's Ryan Stiles is the owl that is Warlock's familiar. Like, Diedrich Bader is the Halloween Hound. It just... They've got real actors. Like, this movie cared. Why did this movie care?
They cared up to a certain point. There's a point in the film, which is all the Buddies scenes, where they don't care. And you can tell, because how do they deal with the Halloween Hound? Oh, boy. So, the Halloween Hound, we were talking about earlier, he jumps into a scene in the middle of all of them. One of the dogs, which is Sporty Dog, which is definitely not a Spice Girl.
Hold up. No. I need to correct you exactly, because this is... We're going to get into some deep AirBuddies lore here. They are all various names, and that one specifically... Hold up. So there's B-Dog, who is the
B-Dog, the one who says,
dog.
yo, what up, dog? What up, dog?
Yep.
That's his joke. That's his only joke.
Yes. There is Buddha. There's Rosebud. And there's Mudbud, who's pig pen.
Completely filthy fucking dog at all times.
This filthy fucking animal.
Just
like,
because.
Sucks. It kind of sucks. But so there's Mudbud, but that one specifically, it's wearing a sports jacket and stuff. But it's not because he's like the sporty dog, I don't think, as much as he's meant to be the couch potato, likes watching stuff, because his name is Butterball.
I hate it.
And that is spelled with D's, my friend.
Butterball. Anyway, Butterball, the football dog.
It's because he's the fat
starts eating a jar
dog.
of like human eyeballs.
Yep.
Which is really fucking weird and out of nowhere at the end of the movie.
That was strange. Yeah, there was
He's
a jar
like,
of eyeballs.
oh man,
in the
these
house,
are
and he's
great.
like, oh, these are great.
Yeah, you think there'd be a gross out moment? So like one of the dogs says, "Hey, Butterball, those are real human eyes. What are you doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're a little chewy." Just fucking keeps doing it.
Just
like, come on.
Eating eyeballs.
So the Halloween hound jumps down. He's like, haha, I got all your souls now. You're all gonna die. Which, get over here. And then, like, one of the other dogs is like...
His big thing, too, his finishing move, his Stan's ultimate attack is that he breathes this, like, goo onto people.
It's like a noxious gas or something.
And it turns them to stone and steals their soul.
It's 100% a JoJo stand.
Yup. Anyway.
So he jumps down, he says that. The rapper dog's like, hey, can you eat Butterball first? Because I don't want to die and I want him to die first. That'd be great. And Butterball's like, what the fuck, bro? And he's like, no, I got a plan. Let him eat you. So the fucking hound starts breathing his Stan noxious gas. And then, because Butterball was eating these human eyeballs, he lets out just a huge fucking noxious fart. Which
they
is so powerful.
They animated
it a lot,
They animated
actually.
the fart. Yep.
And it's so noxious that it overpowers the fucking...
his dark demon
from the
breath.
Halloween hound. And shoots it back at the hound, who can apparently...
steal his own soul.
Stonify himself? I don't know how that works. But
that is one of the parts that does not make sense.
They kill the hound with a fucking gigantic, smelly fart.
That is a thing that they do in this movie.
They did not give a shit about that.
Remember how we said all of the parts with the dogs suck?
Yeah, this one was good, though.
Okay, this is the exception. I'll actually agree with that. That's why I was loud.
Because it's so fucking stupid.
I want to pretend that I was angry at this, but I actually laughed. I shouldn't put on airs that I didn't enjoy the fart joke. The fart joke was actually like the only thing that kind of redeemed this part.
This movie has a lot of physical props too. The problem is they tend to go from physical props to 3D animation of those props, which makes them look shitty. So, like, they'll have, like, a styrofoam head with a sheet over it, or they'll have an owl statue that's fallen to the ground, but it's made of rubber, so it fucking vibrates for some reason.
Yeah.
And they have, like, real rats moving down a staircase that then turn into animated rats that are fucking miserable to look at.
Yeah, within a half second, basically, they turn into rats, they run down the staircase as real rats, and then it zooms in to have them talk, and they're super CGI animated, and they look worse than Ratatouille. Like, they look more cartoony than that, and it's like, ooh, going from real rats to that is jarring.
Like, there's bits and pieces sprinkled here and there of this film. You're like, oh, that's really cool. I'm glad they did some physical, real effects for that. That looks great. They used real fireworks. They had a literal pyrotechnician on staff. Like, this looks
there's
great.
A lot of fireworks.
Oh, that looks awful.
There's a lot of pyrotechnics. Yeah, and then suddenly they pull out
a little bit of whiplash
rats.
in that aspect. Which we
we
got way more whiplash in Airbud 5, mind you, but
a lot more. Well, so did that girl that got hit with the ball.
Yeah, that too. Jesus.
No scoping her from outside of the window. Oh God. I mean, I don't know what to talk about with this film. Like, it's just kind of good. I just liked it. It's weird to me that, like you said, it might be something like that these creators wanted out of the AirBud franchise and wanted to do more stuff. I'm starting to wonder, you know what we have to do now? This is the problem. We've invited this curse into our home on Spooktober, my friend.
Do we have to watch the whole AirBud cinematic universe?
We have to watch the whole AirBud cinematic universe to know if that's the case. We have to do the deep dive. We've got to find out how far down the rabbit hole it goes. Did they put this much care into all the Buddies movies? When did they stop caring in the AirBud franchise? Which ones do they care about? Which ones are lazy hacks? We've got to find it out. We need to know. We've got to go deeper. This is our dark curse that we opened on Spooktober.
I just saw my life flash before my eyes of all AirBud movies.
It's all AirBud. It's all AirBud for the end of time. We are not going to do all AirBud movies for this podcast. No. Stop sending us your messages. We're not doing all of them in a row. I can't take it. AirBud 5 was one of the worst things we've done. I hate it. Please don't make me do it. I'll stop.
If you would like us to do the whole Beethoven franchise, please email us at
roughcutscast@gmail.com.
Yeah, woo.
Let us know if you want to go in for Beethoven the 8th.
I really like a lot of the film, though.
Yeah.
There's so much Halloween joy in this movie that I did not expect, that I thoroughly enjoyed, and that I actually legitimately found entertaining. So, I like this movie as a Halloween movie. It's like one of my top kids movies for that.
This is one of those things that I can't actually... Yeah, I mean, like, I can't actually be dunking on it. Like, I wanted to go into this and make a bunch of jokes about how bad it is and unintentional humor in it and garbage that it has, and I was expecting it to be awful. And maybe that's part of why we look at it as being so good, because we expected... Like, the bar that I had for this was the lowest that I've ever had for any of the movies. Like, when I came into this, my expectations were absolute rock bottom. And that might be one of the reasons why I'm looking at this a little bit the way that I am. But yeah, like, I kind of ended up just enjoying it, and I don't really want to dunk on it a bunch. I do want to ask a question, though, which is, what is the cutest dog in this film? Because it does have that. There are a lot, like, the one thing that it does right with the dogs is there are a little few scenes of every dog where they're not animated, doing a few little tricks or something, like putting a paw over their face and, like, looking down ashamed, or, like, doing roll over and, like, fetch and stuff, like little tricks.
I'd have to go with Pip, which is the little beagle puppy that got murdered and then unmurdered.
Man, the dead dog is the cutest dog. It's just the best.
The dead dog is just the cutest. Which
it's
I don't know
so
why
bad
so
that
many
they had to
dead
animate
dogs
it as
in
this
these
horrible
movies
ghost
watch,
for most of the movie. Like, why did we have to watch it as a horrible ghost when it was like the cutest little beagle? So it's just a tiny little beagle pup that is just the biggest eyed. Like, it's got like the really nice long droopy ears that beagles do that are like right on the ground, and it's got these big soulful eyes. And in every scene that it's not animated, it really comes across as just like wanting to run over and get pets from whoever's off screen. Like, it just feels like it's looking at its handler like really expectantly, like hoping that the handler like runs over and pets him. You can just, there's some kind of feel like that to that dog. It's great.
Real quick, I would give that dog an 11 out of 10. I'm going to rate it.
Oh, absolutely. The other dog that I wanted to talk about is I actually really liked Zelda. Zelda was just a throwaway dog. One of the better parts of the dog storyline. Yeah, one of the better parts of the dog storyline. They go to a medium because they're like, okay, well, we've got this ghost. How do we get rid of this ghost? Because this ghost keeps following us around. And, like, what do we do about it? And so, like, oh, well, like, there's this psychic medium in town, and she says that she talks to ghosts and things. So they bring her in. They bring the ghost dog in to talk to this medium, and the dog immediately faints and plays dead because she's a fucking charlatan. It's wonderful. Like, the movie knows. The movie's immediately like, she's like, I've never done this for real. Like, of course not. I'm a psychic. Like, psychics are frauds. I'm a fraud. She's straight up a fraud. But she's a really cute Chinese crested dog, which are like, they're the dogs, if you don't know them, they're kind of like ratty looking. They're a dog that's so ugly that they're super cute, is basically what it is. They're a stack overflow with the dog, right? They're ugly enough, like they get like these horrible underbites and overbites, and like they're really ratty manes and things, and they just end up being so ugly that they're actually incredibly cute. And this dog pretending to play dead was one of the best scenes. Like the ghost just jumping out and it's going like, ah, and like falling over and playing dead was very good. Yeah, but they kind of enlist her help for a little bit. And yeah, she's the whole time is like, I'm just a medium. I don't do any of this. This is all just entertainment. I don't do this shit. It's real good.
I would give that dog a palm reading out of 10.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But
follow the ley lines, Cam. Follow the ley line.
Follow the ley lines. My ley lines say that we have another... Oh, goodness. Hold up. Just one moment. We have... How many AirBuddies movies are there?
There are 16 in the franchise. We watched 2.
Okay, I was going to say, in our future, we have 14... I've read your palm, and in your palm there are 14 AirBuddies movies in your future.
The spookiest thing of all.
And that's
just real quick before we wrap up, real quick. Sure. There were 2 scenes I wanted to talk about that we glossed over. There's one where Frankendude mentions that he did acid in the 80s after the skull gets worn off.
Yeah,
that's a really good parent joke.
Yes.
And then the second one is when the grave robber Jojo smacks Jeff Warlock on the back of the head with a shovel and then just like, hey, we got to get out of here before he gets up. Instead of, killing him with the shovel.
Yeah, we were like, finish him off! Finish him off!
Do it! Those 2 scenes are...
Do it, you coward!
But yes, I think neither of us would want to rate this movie, but we would both recommend it for your Halloween viewing. Oddly enough, somehow.
Yes? I don't know that I'd recommend it. I would, I recommend it in the way that if you have to watch a kid's Halloween film, it's acceptable. Like that, don't go into this thinking it's actually just going to be good, but if you're going into it expecting something atrocious, it's not. It's a decent Halloween film for kids. That's how I want to add context to my recommendation for this. I have a life to protect and a reputation, friend.
You heard it here first. Ilion. Ilion, quote.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
Spooky Buddies is my favorite Halloween movie. End quote.
My name's Ilion, and Spooky Buddies is my favorite Halloween movie on the Citadel.
No, I'm not crazy.
God.
I think that'll be it. That's the podcast.
Yeah, no, this was the podcast. I wanted to dunk on this movie more. Why can't I dunk on this movie more? I want to know why Spooky Buddies... Why does Spooky Buddies get respect? And who the fuck is Oliver Daly?
Hey, thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. We recently hit 500 downloads.
Yeah,
nearly
we did,
100
didn't we?
on our first episode. That's awesome.
That's really
we're
cool.
making really good progress. More importantly, we're making entertaining content, which you are actually enjoying. So thank you so much for the kind words on social media as well. Thank you for sharing this out.
Yeah, it really does mean a lot to us. I know that we talk about it every time, but the only way that we get this podcast out to people is by other people sharing it. Like us mentioning it on our own social media, and then if you just mention it on yours. And so every time that you retweet us, every time that you mention that you like the podcast, every time you share it on Reddit or on Twitter or Facebook or go into a random grocery store and, start grabbing strangers' kids and saying, hey, you ever seen Spooky Buddies? Whenever you do that kind of thing, we don't want to know about it because that's probably illegal. But if you're sharing it on social media, it's probably fine, and we like
Jeff Warlock 100% does that.
Jeff Warlock is definitely the kind of dude that's like running around like, hey kids, you seen Spooky Buddies? To all the kids in a fucking store. Oh my god, that nerd would absolutely do that.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.